Admiral Horatio Nelson might just be the greatest military commander Britain has ever produced. Which is hilarious because for most of his career he was basically half broken. By the end of it, he was blind in one eye, he was missing an arm, he was covered in scars, and he was coughing his lungs out. And yet somehow this was the man who crushed Napoleon and left him terrified. Now, I've always found it strange that whenever history nerds such as myself are discussing who the greatest general of all time is, Napoleon always seems to come up. I've never understood why. Nelson crushed him, and so did Wellington. He wasn't even the greatest general of the very war that he started. So, let's take a look at how a one-eyed, one-armed bloke became the hero of Britain. The scourge of France and arguably the greatest military commander of all time. Oh, come on, don't be like that. I said maybe. You're still my favourite. Nelson was born in 1758 in Norfolk, the 6th of 11 children. So already his odds of standing out were pretty slim. He joined the Navy at just 12 years old because back then 12-year-olds could just join the Navy. By his late teens, he was already proving himself as a natural leader, a man who was brave to the point of borderline insanity. Now, Nelson wasn't one for playing it safe. In fact, his entire career is basically a long list of him saying, oh, f*** it. At the Battle of Cape St. Vincent in 1797, he ignored the chain of command and charged right at the Spanish line head-on. This was also the battle where he lost his arm, yet bravery comes at a price. Anyway, this did not slow him down, and he kept going with fewer limbs and even bigger balls. Nelson's big break, so to speak, came in 1798 at the Battle of the Nile. Napoleon was trying to sneak his army through Egypt to threaten British India. Imagine picking on India, that's not very nice, is it? Anyway, Nelson caught the French fleet anchored in Aboukir Bay and absolutely annihilated it. It was a slaughter. Out of 13 French ships, 11 were either completely destroyed or captured. Nelson didn't just win, he made Napoleon's dreams of empire collapse overnight. And he did it in the most mental way possible, charging in head-on, his giant balls acting as buoyancy for the ship. Then came Copenhagen in 1801. Nelson was second in command and ordered to break off the attack when things got rough. Imagine telling him to break off the attack. It was never going to happen, was it? It's like asking a dog not to bark. It's just unnatural. Anyway, Nelson put his telescope to his blind eye and said, I really don't see the signal. And then he charged head-on right into the Danish fleet. Now he won, obviously. But that's Nelson in a nutshell. Half-blind, half-handed, and completely insane. By 1805, Napoleon was threatening to invade Britain, and the French and Spanish fleets joined forces at Trafalgar. This was Nelson's masterpiece. He was outnumbered, but he sailed straight at them in 2 columns, breaking the enemy line and turning the whole battle into chaos. It was madness, but it worked. The Franco-Spanish fleet was shattered, 22 ships destroyed, and Britain's naval supremacy was secured for a century. Nelson literally sunk Napoleon's idea of invading Britain. But Trafalgar was also where Nelson's story comes to an end. During the battle, he was shot by a French sniper and he died on deck, supposedly muttering, "Thank God I have done my duty." Britain lost its greatest naval hero, but he went out in the most Nelson way possible. Victorious, dramatic, and sacrificing himself for his country. Nelson's death caused a wave of national mourning. Over 100,000 people lined the streets of London for his funeral. He wasn't just a commander, he was a symbol of British grit, determination, and overall craziness. So, was Admiral Nelson the greatest military commander of all time? Maybe. He was definitely the best naval commander of all time, in my opinion. Thank you for watching and have a great day.